Welcome to the season finale of QTFTBSDV. This is a very special season finale because it is on All Hallows Eve. Actually, technically this video is coming up on the 30th, just to be sure that there's no issues for the 31st. Whenever you're watching this, doesn't matter. It's the finale episode. And it's also a Halloween special, because it's none other than Scoob-tober. And, you know, what better way to get in the Halloween mood than to watch some Scooby-doo, and also hang out with your boy, and find out who this season's winner is. Now, because we've already ranked the villains in their individual episodes, we will have to go through all of them again, but there's going to be a bit of a twist. In case this is your first time watching a finale episode, it'll be a little different. You just gonna have to trust me on that. But first, let's go over the villains we've had this season. And let me tell you, we've had some pretty fucking crazy villains. Starting off with the high-rise Spectre. Now this dude, he was a little interesting, because this guy showed no fear. He was on top of skyscrapers, just scaring guys. And first of all, the dudes had no harnesses in the first place. This guy, same thing, didn't give a fuck. Just climbed up there and started scaring people. That's a dangerous game to play, and you gotta give him respect for that. He did look a little goofy with his toothpaste-colored skin. I think I even said that in the episode, but what are you gonna do? Now, the plot of this episode is also pretty funny. Scooby and Shaggy and the gang, they need money because, I guess, trust fund ran out. So, Fred and Shaggy have to get jobs working the night shift on the construction site, where they inevitably run into the high-rise Spectre. And of course, hilarity ensues. They split up and look for clues. That was not meant to rhyme. The gang devises a plan. Well, actually not really. The ghost kind of catches up to them with his iron fucking grip and holds onto the van. And then they accidentally trap him and pull off his really rubbery mask. Turns out it was actually the foreman. Of course, the villains just get weirder from here, because in episode 2 we had to deal with a really kind of gross looking doctor. This dude's name, which I read as Dr. Coffin, I don't ever remember hearing them say that in the episode. It's been, like, this video came out a year ago where I talked about this guy. Yeah, so basically the gang rolls up in Canada. They need a place to stay, so of course they stay at a hospital, which is just, you know, that's the worst place to stay if you're in dire need of, you know, sleep. I would not stay at a hospital. Anyways, turns out the place is haunted, and this episode's also just really dark, because we just see dead bodies everywhere. Anyways, so it turns out that the dead bodies aren't actually dead bodies, thank fuck. It's just a scheme to get gold shipped out of the hospital. So the gang follows Dr. Coffin and his gang of goons, and it turns out they were actually transferring the gold, money laundering, you know, all the good stuff, you know. And it turns out that Dr. Coffin was actually a Mountie, so he wasn't even a doctor. Another weirdly dark episode was episode 3, where we went all the way to Seattle, which for some reason in the video I kept calling it San Francisco. So yeah, in this episode we dealt with another construction site, actually, kind of funny. Except this time, instead of a specter, it was just a straight-up demon with some pretty gnarly fucking claws on him. This guy could literally cut through metal. But not only that, we got a whole origin story for this guy about how in the old days, like the 1800s in Seattle, demons came out of the ground, they chased them back down there. It's pretty dark. And then we get to see the office all screwed up and it says get out and stuff. It's a pretty dark episode. This guy was also able to have a entire, not just one, but 2 secret underground layers. Now the gang did kind of fool him, which was pretty lame the way that they did it, but I can't really blame the gang for that. It's just kind of the guy's fault, so yeah. Anyways, next up we got some pretty interesting ones. I like to call them the Phantom Shadow knockoffs, but they're actually technically called the Technicolor Ghosts. These guys were haunting an ice cream factory. There were suspects all over the place. There were bank robbers on the loose that we heard over the radio. There was a dopey security guard and a guy walking around with a fake broken leg. Now, 90% of this episode takes place in a freezer, but to be fair, this is probably the funniest episode on the list. So, I can't really shut on them for that. They did have a really good and actually cool plan to disguise the armored truck as an ice cream truck, and they actually did get a couple of good scares in.
No, they've locked us in!
And of course, it just turns out to be random fucks, along with the security guard. Moving on to fan favorite episode 5 with Gramp the Vamp. That name never really stuck for me, but that's what Shaggy calls him in the episode, so I guess that's what I'll be calling him. Anyways, I had this episode on DVD. It was on Scooby-doo Spooky's Tales, I believe, which meant that out of the 9 episodes I had as a kid, I wasn't able to watch like 5 or 6 of them because they freaked me out too much. And for good reason. This is another really creepy episode. Actually, probably the creepiest on the list, just from the shots alone. I mean, I love this shot of the vampire on the phone with Daphne. It's just so creepy. And then when we're exploring the hotel, he's just hanging out in the dark. And to make matters worse, he turns one of the main characters of this episode into a vampire. Of course, it does end up just being her greedy uncle. But my point still stands. It's a very creepy episode. This one, admittedly, I hadn't seen it until I did the actual episode, and it's a weird one. A lot of the later, like, Scooby-Doo show episodes I hadn't really seen, but like they get like really bizarre. They were really running out of ideas. We had like sea creature after sea creature, and this was one of them. What I will give this guy is the creepy Lovecraftian style of his character. I do enjoy it a lot, and it's, you know, his powers were definitely creepy, being able to zombify people. I didn't really enjoy the twist at the end of the episode, but, you know, I guess you can't win them all. And I didn't really care for the location of this episode either. It was just kind of a deserted beach, which is like, okay, why not just hail a cab? But anyways, not my favorite of episodes. And another episode I hadn't seen until we did QTFTBSDV. Now this episode's villain was the Moon Monster, who, again, not my favorite villain, but definitely, you know, he's pretty creepy. I mean, this guy had a creepy smile on his face the whole time. And again, just like our last villain, had some pretty good powers, being able to turn people into stone just by casting his shadow on them. And I did enjoy the location. It was pretty interesting. The plot and the plan were a little but I'll get more into that in a bit. And our latest episode of QTFTBSDV, where we had to deal with the Warlock of Wimbledon. Now, I could go on and on about why this villain is not a good villain, but just go watch the episode. Like, the dude looks like a mascot for a fast food chain, and he's just, dude, like, he put no effort into his props, his costume. He did have some pretty good powers at certain points, especially when he was able to appear in the stands to fuck with Jimmy. That was pretty good. Let's be fair, alright? That was good. But for the most part, this episode just, you know, personally isn't that good, and the villain isn't very scary. And that's all I gotta say about it. Not a great episode / villain. It had its moments. I'll be fair. When he came out of the water, that was pretty cool. But other than that, not a great episode. So, with that being said, we all got the recap in. Let's move on to the awards ceremony where the real party begins. Alright, and here we are. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the finale episodes work a little different from regular QTFTBSDV. Normally, we only rank the villains in 4 categories: design, laugh, powers, and plan, and each category is out of 5. And that's still true. We're also adding on an extra 4 categories: execution, crime, goal, and trap. Again, also out of 5. The only difference is trap, you don't want to get points in that. That's when you lose points. I'll explain that when we get to it, though. So, bring up the scoreboard. And let's go. Alright, starting with the high-rise Spectre. Design, he gets a 4. Because like I said in the episode, and like I said earlier in the recap, I wasn't a fan of his toothpaste-colored skin, but he did have some pretty good clothing and accessories, like the Dracula fit. I'm a big fan of that. And the bow tie tied it all together. And also the spiky hair, that was pretty good. It makes sense too, because he's on a skyscraper, so it's all spiky because of the wind. I don't know, maybe I'm just reading into that, but you know, his design was pretty good. I did enjoy the design. Dr. Coffin gets a design of 2 because not that scary, just kind of a dude. His like skin tone kind of makes me think that he's like slimy. Like he doesn't like let off ghost vibes, you know. He just I don't know. There's something weird about him. He's just kind of gross. The Demon of San Francisco. I almost just did it again. The Demon of Seattle gets a design of 2 because unfortunately he didn't have a whole lot of like demon attributes. I mean, like he was red, he had wings, he had horns. And I mean, like, have you seen some shows lately with demons in them? Have you seen like Chainsaw Man or Freerin? Like that now they got demons in their shows sometimes. But my point is, they didn't get super creative with it, and it's like you're creating a hellspawn. Like, do something with it, you know? Have fun. So he gets a 2. The Technicolor ghosts is pretty self-explanatory. They're just rip-offs of the Phantom Shadows. Throw a bedsheet on their heads, take away the chains, boom. You got ghosts. Pretty lame. Gramp the Vamp gets a 4 because he's just a classic vampire. The color scheme's a little weird with the red and purple, but I liked it, so fuck you, I guess. And his skin's almost like too gray? I don't know. It's like a weird color. It's a weird tone, if you ask me. But, you know, 4 out of 5, that's not too bad. The sea creature gets a 3 because, like I said, I do enjoy the Lovecraftian design. And this is an example of how they got creative with the designs. See, they gave him legs, they gave him fins, they gave him giant claws, and they even gave him seaweed hair. Unfortunately, he's not scary. I mean, yeah, he's menacing, but he's not really, like, scary, you know? Next up, we got the Moon Beast, who gets a 5 for design because this guy, he's menacing, he's scary, he's creepy, he's all of it wrapped in one. He's menacing just because of his size and his stature. He's creepy just from his weird smile. Like, he's got a lot going on. You gotta give it to him. He gets a 5. And the Warlock Anthos gets a 1 because, like I said, dude looks like a fast food chain mascot. The red and the blue and the yellow is egregious. The mask is kind of stupid. The cape is a little goofy. And that's pretty much it, honestly. Now, moving on to Laugh. The High-Rise Spectre gets a 4 for Laugh. He had a pretty good laugh. He had a great laugh, actually. But, yeah, that's it. He had a great laugh. And used it pretty often. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. The only reason he's not getting a 5 is because at the beginning of the episode when he used it, he kind of like went a little too hard. And like he kind of like lost it right at the end. So it's just kind of, but you know, 4 out of 5. That's pretty good in my book. I mean, not like you got a choice. I'm not changing it now. Dr. Coffin gets a 3. Also a pretty good laugh, but didn't use it very often. This dude he smiled a lot, you know? He like edged us with the laugh, but he never laughed. He did laugh, but like, you know, not as much as he should have. The Demon of Seattle, just to remind everybody, laugh is not just laugh, it's also growls, battle cries, stuff like that. So the demon didn't actually have a laugh, but he did have some pretty good growls. But again, but same with design, like you're creating a hellspawn monster. Make him creepy, you know, give him a crazy laugh. So he only gets a 3. And Technicolor ghosts, pretty similar to the Phantom Shadows in the laugh category. They get a 4. Some pretty good guffaws in there, but they also had that one scene where they just fucking yelled at the gang. Like that was a good one. That really caught me off guard when I watched this episode for the first time. I was like, whoa! Gramps the Vamp gets a 4 for laugh because he had a laugh at the beginning, and he used it a couple more times in the episode, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a pretty good cackle, but he also had some growls and hisses in there, so that was bonus points. The sea creature gets a 3 because it's kind of the same as the demon. You know, you're making a sea creature, make him fucking just go all out. You know, they just give him some moans and groans there, but you know, I guess I can give you a 3 for that. The moon beast gets a 4. Again, moans and groans, but more menacing than sea creatures. And Anthos gets a 1. Anthos, yeah, what can I say? Powers. The high-rise Spectre gets a 2 for powers. He didn't really showcase a lot of powers. I mean, we knew he could, like, supposedly fly, because how else would he get to the top of the skyscrapers? We knew that he used some black magic, but again, we never really saw him use it. We just knew that he did. And also, he can supposedly just, you know, open up safes or like phase through them, which is good. But again, we never seen any of these powers. We just, you know, just word of mouth. You know, I want visual evidence of the powers. So that's why you're only getting a 2. Dr. Coffin also only gets a 2. He did have that one quick little jump scare in the episode, and that was really good. But unfortunately, not enough for me. So only a 2. Now the Demon of Seattle makes up some points here and gets a 5 for powers because this is an example of the team going all out. Why didn't they do this with the whole design? At the very beginning of the episode, we see this scary bastard cut through solid steel. Imagine if he had hit that construction worker. He'd be fucked. So, not only that, we see him fly around, and we also see him control the mist and make it float towards the gang at various points. And yeah, that's basically it. I mean, there's not a lot for me to say when your powers are just good and you showcase them. The Technicolor ghosts get a 2 for powers because, again, didn't really have any. Didn't really showcase the powers. I mean, like, we seen them, like, lock the door at one point. It's like, come on, bro. What are you doing? This clear... You are not a ghost, you know? Like, we can tell. Get your hands off that shit. I guess they floated around, but, like, you know, lame. Gramps the Vamp gets a 5 for powers because, well, you know, dude is literally, like, over, like, 200 years old or something. Like, he's fucking old. He also transformed into a bat once or twice in the episode. Classic vampire move. Hypnosis. If you kind of... I don't know if I'd count that as a power. That might fall more into the plan category, but still hypnosis. He had a hint of that in there. And he was also able to turn his niece into a vampire without even going near her. So, like, you know, that's pretty fucking useful if you're a vampire. And also, getting a 5 is the sea creature because, well, again, there's not a lot for me to say when you got good powers. This guy was a land and sea animal. He had these giant pincer claws that could, like, do some serious damage if you wanted to. And plus, he was able to turn the gang's only ally in this episode into a mindless zombie. So, you know, that's a bit of alright. That's a 5 for me. The Moon Beast keeping up the streak of 5. Again, not much for me to say when the powers are good. This guy, he clearly had some strength behind him. He helped Shaggy and Scooby lift up the van. He could also teleport. He showed that off at one point in the episode. And he could also turn people to stone with the cast of his shadow. I mean, that's a pretty big range, dude. Like, you gotta relax. That you might use that accidentally when you don't mean to. Like, that's pretty good. And Anthos is getting a 4 because I'm a fair ruler, even though it might seem like I have a vendetta against the Warlock Wimbledon. It's not necessarily true. Anthos gets a 4 because, although I talk a lot of shit about him, he did have some pretty good powers. The main one being that he was able to appear only for Jimmy to see during the tennis match, which was very creepy and very good at throwing Jimmy off his game. He was also able to teleport. He did that a couple times, so, you know, gotta appreciate the teleportation. Alright, next up we got Plan. The high-rise Spectre gets a 4 for Plan because, you know, it was a pretty good plan. Climb to the top of skyscrapers and spy on rich people while they type in their vault codes. And listen, I can get behind robbing the rich, but you left out the second part, which is given to the poor, so I can only give you a 4 for that, based on morals alone. Dr. Coffin also gets a 4 because it was a solid plan. Solid as the gold he was transporting out of the hospital. I can only assume this was a international job because they were so close to the Canadian border. But basically, they were taking these dead bodies coming out of the hospital, transporting them in ambulances to a secret layer where they would package the gold as bread and send it out to wherever it was going. Like, that was a pretty crazy plan you got going there. If I was to change anything, maybe don't let nosy guests in your one of your secret layers. That might be a good change of plans, but, you know, for the most part, it was pretty good, so they get a 4. Also getting a 4 is the Demon of Seattle. The Demon's plan was also pretty intricate. It involved lots of kidnapping. It involved setting up the office to make it look like a demon was there. It involved 2 secret layers and a secret tunnel. The only problem I had with his plan was that he had a fake identity on top of the demon, which kind of, you know, I don't really see the point of that. It just kind of confused everybody, which maybe that was the point, but it certainly confused me a little too much. So you're getting a 4. Keeping up the streak of 4, nobody wants to be the one to break it, is the Technicolor Ghosts. Their plan was super intricate. They robbed a bank successfully, hid the armored car that they stole in the ice cream factory's garage, painted it to look like the ice cream trucks, all while they scared off all the employees to have the place to themselves, essentially. Maybe next time don't fall for Shaggy accidentally wearing a bedsheet that just happened to look like you guys. That was a pretty big flub on your part. And, you know, I feel like they kind of just got cocky at the end of their plan. Like, they weren't doing it for the money at this point. They were doing it for the scares, and I can appreciate that, but you got a little cocky and you fucked it. And Grams the Vamp gets a 2. He broke the streak, everybody, but the reason why he gets a 2 is because his plan was pretty fucking stupid. So essentially, Gramps the Vamp created a fake history of his family so that he could obtain the ownership of the hotel from his niece, Lisa, I think is her name, right? Anyways, so basically when she was going to turn 18, she would get ownership over the hotel that he's been managing for all these years, right? Now, he says in the episode that she's like a daughter to him. So in my head, I'm like, why are you afraid that she's gonna like kick you out of the business and have you make less money? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You know? She doesn't know how to manage a hotel. Maybe she does. Maybe she learned from you. But the point is, why would she hire a new manager when she has you to manage the hotel, who's been doing it with experience for like 20 years? It just, this guy's reasoning doesn't make any sense to me. It's just so bizarre. So his first option, the first idea that came to mind was to dress up as a vampire and try and hypnotize her and scare her away. So, just fucking lost in translation, at least for me. Anyways, the sea creature also had a pretty weird plan. Basically, they were transporting prisoners inside the sea creature costume back to the mainland. which was a good plan. It's just Iron Face did it and did it better. So yeah, that's basically it. Not a fan of this plan. It was pretty lame. Didn't really execute it very well. So they're getting a 2. And we got a new streak, the streak of 2. The Moon Beast gets a 2 for his plan because a lot of it was just luck. I mean, this guy, again, what is it with greedy uncles? So this dude's uncle, he wanted to steal his family fortune and fake his death and then get away with the money. The only problem with this is this guy's plan pretty much relied on the tide shooting the gold and treasure up onto the shore where he could get it. So he gets a 2. And Anthos gets a 2 for plan because essentially he wanted to make Jimmy lose the tournament. That's pretty petty. That's the only reason you get a 2. So we've reached the halfway point of the episode. Let's take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors.
You are a false prophet, and security, take him out of here.
Thank you, and welcome back to the second half of the award ceremony of QTFTBSDV's Halloween season finale. Good God, that was a lot. So, with this second half of the episode, we're going to get into the next scoreboard. If this is your first time watching, it's going to be a little confusing, but let me explain. We've got 4 more categories: execution, crime, goal, and trap. Execution, how well did our villain execute their plan? Crime, what did they actually do? Goal, did they achieve their goal, and how close were they to achieving it? And trap, depending on how bad, embarrassing, whatever the trap was, it varies on points. For example, you get trapped by Scooby slipping on a banana peel, and he fucking tumbles over, you jump over him, hit your head off a pipe, and then land in a pile of cow shit, you're probably getting a 5, and that means you lose 5 points. So, now that we're all on the same page, let's get into it. Starting off with the High-Rise Spectre, he gets an execution of 3. The execution of this plan, climb to the top of a skyscraper. Technically, I guess he was up there already, so there you go. That's pretty good already. That's a pretty good advantage. Watch rich people type in the codes to their vault and be able to see in the dark. I mean, he executed pretty good, except for the fact where they hired 2 random fucking dudes off the street to basically put together a skyscraper. That being Shaggy and Fred, who ended up finding out the ruse through that, essentially. Also creating this other ghost story that they had of the Spectre's like granddaughter or something weird like that. Like the person that Shaggy and Velma and Scooby went to see was supposed to be a ghost too. It's like, you got a lot of stuff going on here, guys. Dr. Coffin gets a 4 because he executed his plan pretty well. They had some pretty good fake dead bodies, and they the only thing I would say was a little weird was, like, wouldn't it be hard to pass off, you know, like, super heavy loaves of bread? Or whatever they were packaging, you know what I mean? Like, isn't that, like, a little weird? Anyways, they did have the whole hospital to themselves, and they had a Mountie on their side, so they get a 4 for execution. Demon of Seattle gets a 4 for execution, because dude brought out a lot of good stuff. He used an old legend, got rid of the guy with the talisman, and he had multiple secret tunnels. The only problem with his execution was one of the tunnels led back to his fucking house, which I guess is convenient until the gang follows you to your house and puts it together pretty easily. The Technicolor Ghosts get a 4 for execution because, I mean, they pulled off a bank heist pretty successfully. They also scared off an entire ice cream factory, also very successfully. And they broke 2 guys out of jail in the process. And they'd be getting a 5 if they weren't so cocky. Like, they just really that fucked them over right at the end. Grimes the Vamp gets a 4 for execution because I'm no hypnotist expert, but I'm assuming it's hard to do. So, not only that, he also faked a bunch of family history, dedicated a whole room in his hotel just to pull off this ruse, had like the safe ready to go for when Lisa eventually found it. Like, he had some pretty good moments there. The sea creature coming in with a 4 in execution. It was pretty good to have the submarine base, but they also had the lighthouse base on shore, which was also very convenient. I feel like a lot of this could have been solved with private property signs, but I mean, you know, whatever. They also used light signals to communicate from land to the boat. I guess it wasn't really a submarine, it was more of a boat, but anyways. The actual suit itself being like a built-in scuba suit is also pretty good, so, you know, 4 out of 5, not bad. The Moon Beast gets a 3 for execution because, so, he made like a stone statue of himself, which is fine, like, that's cool and all. It's just the treasure being thrown into the ocean and then just happening to wash up on shore that pisses me off. It's like, like, come on now. Like, basically the way that it works is there was a cave, and I guess he tested it because the gang ended up, like, completely on shore, and they were like, oh, dude, there's other stuff here, right? Somebody must throw shit into the river, and then it, like, ends up here because the current makes it do that. Like, you're putting a lot of faith in an ocean current to do your dirty work. That's a little much for me. Next up, we got Anthos, who gets a 5. I bet you didn't see that coming. The execution of this plan was fucking brilliant. Anthos kidnapped like 3 or 4 people. He harassed the shit out of Jimmy. He, again, had the coldest entrance of all time. He knew Shaggy and Scooby were going to the exact spot that he was going to be, so he set himself up there, had to hold his breath for a while. You know, he had a secret underground lair at one point that the gang only found by accident, and his glasses scheme was like complete genius. So yeah, I give him a 5. Moving on to crime, the high-rise Spectre gets a 5 for crime, because he was doing some pretty bad stuff. First of all, OHS violation, Mr. Foreman. None of his workers were wearing the proper safety equipment. Neither was he. And that would be a 5 in itself. Next up is Dr. Coffin at 4. Also pretty good. Definitely some international trade going on there with being so close to the border. Essentially, they stole the gold and were transporting it via disguised bread packaging. And yeah, that's it. I don't know if it's illegal to make dead bodies. No, it probably is, but like, yeah, definitely some issues going on there with the gold though. Like, that was definitely stolen, so we gotta give him some points for that. So the Demon of Seattle actually did a lot of thievery himself, but it was just wax figures, also impersonating somebody, which I don't know if he impersonated somebody or just made up a full identity. Either way, fake identity. He also did manage to steal the talisman from that one guy, but... Oh, and he also did kidnap that one guy. A lot of different crimes going on. Honestly, just getting points for the kidnapping, but the other ones were pretty lame. I mean, stealing wax figures just for the gang to find them later, or just for the gang to put the clues together later that they're, you know, wax. The Technicolor Ghosts get a 5 for crime because, like I mentioned, in execution, they robbed a bank. Grimes the Vamp gets a 3 because I'm pretty sure it's illegal to unconsensually hypnotize somebody. Actually, I'm not gonna say I'm pretty sure. I'm 99% sure that it's illegal to unconsensually hypnotize somebody. Also trying to steal a business, a hotel that he already practically owned. Okay, whatever, dude. If you didn't own it, then I would have given you more points, but the fact that you owned it, basically owned it, you don't get any points for that, really. The sea creature gets a 4 because, you know, they had some pretty bad crimes there, you know, sneaking prisoners back into the mainland. That's really about it, and that's fine. Not every plan needs to be super intricate. Isn't that right, Mr. Moonbeast? Moonbeast is getting a 4. Crime, stealing family jewels, stealing treasure, faking death. I don't think faking your death is actually a crime. Unless it's to, like, avoid certain things, like sentencing or something. As far as I know, this guy wasn't up for sentencing, so he doesn't get any points for faking his death, but he does get points for stealing, almost successfully, the family jewels. And that was not an innuendo. And Anthos gets a 1, because Anthos wanted to disrupt Jimmy's game. Because I guess he had a vendetta against his family. Similar to the vendetta I have against Anthos. Moving on to goal. The high-rise Spectre gets a 3 because he did, for the most part, successfully pull off his goal. He did rob the rich. You know what he didn't do? He didn't finish building any of those fucking skyscrapers. This guy should have been fired. Dr. Coffin gets a 5 for goal because dude actually pulled it off. Stole the gold, delivered the gold, transported the gold. Boom. It's just the gang halted his operation. He did it, you know? Like, the Demon of Seattle also gets a 5 because, once again, he did it. The gang just halted his operation. He just did it. The Technicolor Ghosts, so goddamn close to getting a 5. They got a 4 because, yes, they robbed the bank. Yes, they broke the 2 guys out of jail, but they didn't get away with the money. They got so close. So close. So they only get a 4 for gold. Grams the Vamp gets a 2 because, like I said, in Crime and Execution and Plan, I don't understand the goal here. He already basically had control over the hotel. Lisa wasn't going to get rid of him. This was a pretty stupid plan. Therefore, the goal was meaningless. By the way, his goal, ironically, he already achieved by working at the hotel. But, you know, fuck me, I guess. I'm wrong. But he gets a 2 for goal. The sea creature also gets a 2 for goal because, yes, they were successful, but this was such a fucking roundabout way of doing it. They could have been so much more efficient and successful. I mean, if you already got the prisoners on the boat, at that point, just drop the boat off on the shore. Why do you need the sea creature at that point? So yes, even though they did technically get their goal completed, it could have been done so much easier. The Moon Beast, very similar to the Technicolor Ghosts. Also similar to the sea creature. His goal was to get away with the money, which he almost did. He got pretty close. But the other issue I have with it is that he didn't really have to do what he did. Which I know I'm leaning more into, like, execution and plan, but, like, that also affects your goal. So, like, I really don't understand what the purpose of this ruse was for the Moon Beast. And Anthos gets a 3 for goal because, yeah, he actually did a pretty good job at harassing Jimmy. Basically, it was to, make Jimmy screw up the tournament. And he did for a little bit, but then Velma caught on. So, if Velma hadn't caught on and he lost the tournament, that would have been a 5. But Velma was a little too quick for you, Anthos. Alright, and lastly, we got Trap. You do not want points in the Trap category. Let's see who got points. So, the High-Rise Spectre gets a 4 in Trap because they didn't even trap him. They didn't even have a plan. The guy showed up to harass the gang, and he chased them up the skyscraper, and he would have gotten them. But then Shaggy and Scooby jumped onto the beam, causing them to crash through the window and catch the Spectre. That's pretty bad when Shaggy and Scooby cause you to get trapped. So, you lose 4 points. Dr. Coffin, similar issue. Except this time you foolishly let the gang tail you to your base of operations where you were rused into falling into your own mechanism that disguised the gold. Ironic, isn't it? Done in by your own machine. The Demon of Seattle gets a 4, and honestly, it should be a 5, but like I pity this guy. He got caught red-handed by the gang, and then got caught by Shaggy, of all people, hiding in a fucking barrel. This guy pulled off a pretty crazy, plan, but got caught by Shaggy because he was hiding in a fucking barrel. Like, what are you doing out here? The Technicolor Ghosts get a 3 for trap because they almost got away, but then because of Fred's quick thinking, he was able to shut the garage door, causing them to not be able to escape. So, it was a pretty quick improvised trap, but it wasn't like super embarrassing. It was pretty practical on Fred's part. So, they only lose 3 points. Gramps the Vamp gets a 2 because their plan was actually almost successful. In classic Scooby-Doo fashion, they dressed Shaggy up as live bait, which then allowed the gang to trap Gramps the Vamp in the pool in a coffin. Again, very ironic. But because it was actually a well-devised plan and not super embarrassing, you only lose 2 points for that. Similar to Gramps the Vamp, the sea creature loses 2 points because, again, even though technically an improvised trap, if it wasn't for the location, you guys wouldn't have been caught, honestly. Also, why are we not questioning the, torpedoes that they had? Anyways. The Moon Beast gets a 3 because, they did catch you red-handed. They did kind of predict where you were gonna go. So, I can't really shit on you too much for that because they also did the same experiment that our culprit did, where they ended up in the exact spot that the treasure was going to be. So they did kind of predict where he was going to be. So I can't take away too many points, but you did lose a foot race to the gang. So yeah, I got to take away some. So you lose 3 points. And Anthos, poor Anthos. Anthos loses 5 points. Because after his plan was unsuccessful, he chased Shaggy and Scooby around just for him to lose control and fall into a hot dog stand. I shit you not, dude fell into a hot dog stand and fucking gave up. He wanted to be caught. Fell into a fucking hot dog stand. Like, anything else, the net. But, he fell into a hot dog stand. I can't say it enough. He fell into a hot dog stand, got caught. Ooh, who would have guessed it? Alright, so, that was a pretty long scoring process, but if you made it this far, that means you're about to find out who the winner of this episode of QTFTBSDV is. Let's add up the scores and take away some points and figure out who the winner is. Coming in at 17 points, but losing 5, is Anthos, who gets a total of 12 points. Next up is the Moon Beast, coming in at 25 points, but loses 3, making it 22 in total. Next up we got the Sea Creature, who came in with 23 points, but lost 2, making his total 21. Then we got Gramps the Vamp, who got 24 points, but lost 2, which ties him up with the Moon Beast. Next up we got the High-Rise Spectre, who got a solid 25 points, only to lose 4, making his total 21, just behind Gramps the Vamp and the Moon Beast. Then we got Dr. Coffin, who got another solid score of 24 points, but lost 4, making it only 20. I think this is actually our highest score. The Demon of Seattle got 26 points, but lost 4, tying it up at 22 with the Moon Beast and Gramps the Vamp. And the Technicolor Ghosts came in with 25 points, lost 3, and ended up at 22, making it a 4-way tie. Now, if you remember from last time, this happened. We had 2 winners, but as I explained, we can't have multiple winners for the finale, which means I'm leaving it up to you guys. I've done the scoring, I watched the episodes, and I put it all in a nice series for you to watch. It's time for you to get off your asses and vote and figure out who this episode's winner is. Figure out who the season finale's winner is, okay? I've done my job. It's your turn. Anyways, I think I'm gonna give it to like, how about November 15th? We'll announce the winner. You guys comment, and then I'll add up the comments. Tell your friends to comment. Tell your family to comment. Tell everybody to comment, and we'll figure out who the winner is. Because we got 4 here. We got 4 solid contestants, and yeah, that's basically it. That's the whole video. This was a long one, but if you made it this far, then you know your job. You gotta tell me who the winner is, because I'm not gonna choose. It's up to you guys now. So, with that being said, happy Halloween. Thanks for watching.
Alright, I won't talk for long because this video's already fucking long enough. But, thanks for watching. Happy Halloween. We got some not QTFTBSDV related videos coming up. And, yeah, that's it. Shortest SIM card ever.